picking up less than 2.5 on the back side. On the front side, remember, we first talked about completing the square. Now, these are the exact same steps we saw on the front side. I just have them here so you don't have to flip back and forth to see the steps. So, let's start our way through them. The first step, if you recall, rewrite the equation in the form x squared plus bx equals c. Remember, that means two things we need to happen. One, we need to make sure you have x squared and x on one side, the constant on the other side. And two, what's the only thing allowed to be in front of x squared? A 1. So both of those things need to happen. Officially, as long as you're, like terms and stuff are together, order is really not going to matter. Okay, so I've got x squared and x. So let's take the -2 and let's move it. So I'm going to add the 2 over. Now, with that in mind, I have 2x squared still, plus 12x still. I like to leave a gap. Okay, I'm kind of anticipating steps to come, so I like to go ahead and start leaving a gap. So I'm going to leave a gap, and equals 2. So there I have x squared and x on the left, constant on the right. The other thing I need is on the back side of that paper. Okay, the other thing I need to do is I need to make sure I do not have an a value other than 1. So how do we get rid of this 2? We're going to divide by the 2. So when we divide by 2, we are at x squared plus 6x. This is the important place. I'm leaving a gap. Equals 1. Okay? So that's step 1, moving things around. Step 2 is to complete the square by adding b over 2 squared to each side of the equation. So our job here is to find b over 2 squared. Let's start with what is b currently? Not originally, but currently. What is b? B is 6. Now, if b is 6, remember we need to figure out what is b divided by 2 squared. So in this case, that means I'm doing what? 6 divided by 2 squared. 6 divided by 2 is 3, or it's the same thing as saying half of 6. And 3 squared is 9. What do I do with that value of 9? You add it to each side. So this is why I leave a gap. I'm going to put a plus 9 in here. If you add it to the left, you add it to the right. That's step 2. Okay? Step 3. Factor the left side of the equation. Okay, so we're factoring x squared plus 6x plus 9. Remember, depending on how confident you're starting to feel, could you go ahead and just factor it into one set parentheses squared? You can, because it's going to. Now, if that visual is not, if you need a visual before that, can you think this way first? You can, but it's going to end up in 2 identical parentheses, trust me. Okay, so x squared, what's the square root of x squared? X, right? Or in other words, x squared breaks into x times x. Make it easy on yourself. This is always going to be a perfect square. What's the square root of 9? 3. And what do we know about 3 and 3? They add to be 6. What kind of signs do I need? How do I multiply to get positive and add to get positive? Plus, plus. Your signs will always agree with the sign of that middle term. So this is x plus 3 quantity squared. Okay? Just write the second line or write both lines. Did you clean up the right? 1 plus 9 is 10. Okay, that was step 3, factor. Step 4, square root both sides. So since it says x plus 3 squared, we can square root. If we square root the left, we square root the right. What do we remember? Square root of x plus 3 quantity squared is? Okay. Square root of something squared over here is just whatever's under there, or in the parentheses, so x plus 3. Notice, she's going to start us off on the right step. The square root of 10, do I know the square root of 10? No, but what must we remember to put out front? Plus minus the square root of 10. Okay? You would simplify that 10 if you can. That means if there's a negative, pull the I out. If there's a perfect square, pull out a perfect square. In this case, the only way to get 10 is 2 times 5, and neither of those are perfect squares. So, okay, that's step 4. Step 5, solve. How do we get x by itself? If it's x plus 3, we're going to subtract 3. And with that in mind, I end up with x equals. Now, I like to have my plus or minus in the middle. Not saying you necessarily have to, but that's my preference. So, negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 10. And how many answers is that? There's 2, yes? Anytime you see a plus or minus, that represents 2 answers. Okay. Does that sound like something we did yesterday? Okay, let's practice once more. And then we're going to modify this a little bit to adjust an equation down below. Okay? Step 1, you tell me, what do I need to do to rewrite this in the form x squared plus bx equals c? Okay, we've got x squared and x. Let's move our constant. Let's move our c. So now I'm at x squared minus 8x. I like to leave a gap equals negative 17. Anything else to complete step 1? We already have 1x squared in this case, don't we? So we don't have to do a division step. Okay, step 1, check. Step 2. We need to figure out b over 2 squared. So starting with, bless you, what is b? b is negative 8. So I need to find b divided by 2 squared. So I need to find negative 8 divided by 2 squared. Negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 squared is 16. Okay, what do I do with that 16? I'm going to add it to both sides, so I'm going to add it in my gap. And I'm going to add it on the right. Thus, the reason for me putting a gap there, that way I don't have to rewrite the equation again. Okay, that was step 2. Step 3. Whichever way you're going to write this out, you're going into 2 parentheses. They're going to be identical. Square root of x squared becomes x, so x times x. Square root of 16 is 4. What sign do I use? It's always going to be, how do I get negative 8? I'm going to need 2 negatives. So it's always going to be the sign in front of that middle term that you're going to put in both parentheses. And, did you clean up the right? Negative 7 plus 16 is negative 1. What was that? Step 3? Step 4. Square root. Square root the left, square root the right. What happens when you square root a square? Square root a square, they cancel each other out, and we get x minus 4. On the right, what do we have? Negative. So what's that mean?
It has to be positive, negative, I.
Okay. So, first of all, the square root of negative 1 is I. So you can just change that straight to I. Because we took the square root in an equation setting, I'm going to say we need to put plus or minus. Okay? Hopefully you're on it with the plus or minuses in homework. That's step 4. Step 5 is finish it off. Solve. If it's x minus 4, add 4. I'm going to write this as x equals 4 plus or minus I. Okay. I know I's are something that I try and make sure I write a little different, you know, kind of like my 2's and my Z's. I try and write them a little different. My I's, I try and make sure, I's and 1's, I try and make sure I can tell them apart somehow or another. Okay. Is this back to us? Those of you that didn't see it yesterday, does it make a little bit of sense? Okay. Okay. One more topic. And it very much relates to what we just did. Okay. Now, I reminded you guys to point out these steps are on your blue formula page. Yes, it's steps to completing a quadratic equation. Now, the other topic that we have today is still using completing the square, but it's a little twist on it. Okay. We're going to be taking an equation like x squared plus 4x minus 6. And what we're going to do is we're going to use completing the square to try and rearrange it so that it's in vertex form. Okay? So I don't know how much you guys recall about your graphing, how much you've already forgotten, but if you're going to graph y equals x squared plus 4x minus 6, you have to use that formula, x equals negative b over 2a, to find your axis of symmetry. Then you have to find the vertex, then you have to find an extra point. Okay? Whereas, if it's in vertex form, we can get there a little quicker because remember, HK is going to represent our vertex. Okay? So that's going to be the nice part, is if we can get it in that form, it's a little easier and quicker to graph. So that's our advantages. Now, guess what else is going to be on your blue paper? These steps. Okay? Similar, but different. So, step 1. Rewrite in the form y equals, this time it's x squared plus bx in parentheses, and then after you're going to take that c value and push it outside the parentheses. Okay? So that's going to be our first step. So as we look at 1, okay, I'm going to keep it as y equals. I'm going to start a set of parentheses. I want my x squared and my x term in those parentheses. So it's going to be x squared plus 4x in my parentheses. Then, did you guys notice over here there's a gap? There's a gap on purpose again. Same reason. So I'm going to leave a gap. I'm going to end my parentheses, and then you know that c value I have here? I'm just going to scoot it over. Okay, that's what step 1 is. Familiar, but a twist, right? Okay, step 2 is also familiar, but a twist. Step 2 is, again, complete the square with b over 2 squared. Okay, so we're still going to do that b over 2 squared. The twist is going to be what we do with it. We're going to add it inside the parentheses, and we're going to subtract it outside the parentheses. So that's our twist there. Now, let's take a moment and figure out what our value is. What is my b value? B is 4. So, same thing what we were doing earlier, b over 2, quantity squared. So I'm going to do 4 divided by 2, quantity squared. Or in other words, half of 4. What's half of 4? 2. And 2 squared is 4. Okay. Here's another twist. In an equation, what you do to the left, you do to the right. Yes? Okay. This is not your traditional equation. It is an equation, but I have y on this side. I don't really want to mess with the y. Okay, so now, we came up with a 4. So just like previous, where are you going to put it? You're going to put it in the gap here. Okay, that's adding it inside the parentheses. Now, technically, if we were on the previous section, we say we'd add it on the other side, which means we'd add 4 to the y. But I don't really want y plus 4. So, if it's a plus 4 over here, if I added it to the left, what is it over here? It's a minus 4. So what we're doing is we're going to subtract 4 right there, outside the parentheses, and we're still keeping that equation balanced. Okay, when you add on the left, you add on the right, that's keeping it balanced. This case, notice, we add 4, we subtract 4. Am I balancing things? That's what we're doing here. We're balancing the equation. Okay, so complete the square, add the values, so 4 inside the parentheses, subtract it outside. Now, there's a side comment, if an a value exists, multiply the outside value by a. Did we have an a value here? Did we have anything in front of x squared? Nothing other than 1. So ignore that. We'll talk about that in the next 2. Baby steps here. So step 2, we added and we subtracted. We've completed step 2. Okay? Step 3, factor the parentheses. Now, let's see. Can we guess? I'm debating. Normally what I do is I go straight to y equals parentheses squared. If you're not there, can you think of parenthesis times parenthesis if that works better for your brain? Definitely. Okay. So x plus 4 factors into what? X squared. The square root of x squared is x, or in other words, x times x. Go to the c value, or the end value here. The square root of 4 is 2, or in other words, 2 times 2. What sign do I need in the middle? Since that's a plus 4x, we need plus 2. And of course, what must you do outside? Just clean up. What is minus 6 minus 4? Minus 10. Okay, guys. Y equals x plus 2 quantity squared minus 10 is your vertex form. Okay, that's my vertex form. I can look at that without any work and tell you exactly where the vertex is going to be. I also, by looking at the a value, can tell you how wide or narrow it's going to be. Now, okay, we did the first part of the directions. Write the equation vertex form. I don't think I ever even read the directions to you, but did you catch the other part of the directions? State the vertex and identify it as a max or a min. What's my vertex? Negative 2/10. Remember HK? It's negative 2, negative 10. I guess I didn't even write HK is what your vertex is going to be. Okay, -2, -10. It also wants to know, is it a maximum or a minimum? Is your vertex, where is your vertex? What kind of parabola do we have going on here? My parabola is, this is positive, yes, so that means it opens up. Where's your vertex then? Vertex is at the bottom. When your vertex is at the bottom of a parabola, is it a maximum or a minimum? It's a minimum because it's at the bottom. So this vertex is a minimum. And I think that's all we had to answer, isn't it? Yep. So vertex of -2, -10, and it is a minimum. Okay. So this is your twist, so to speak. Got the basics? Okay. We're going to look at B and C. We've got one more little piece to add on of what to do if there's an A value. That's the one thing I didn't cover. Are we ready? As ready as it gets? Okay, B. Restart your steps. Rewrite in the form y equals x squared plus bx in parentheses, and then plus c is outside. So when we go to rewrite this, okay, here's my start. Y equals. In the parentheses is going to be x squared next, yes? So right now that's looking to be 2x squared and 12x. The plus 9 is getting kicked out. Okay, it's going to be out back. Now, what's the other catch here? There's an a value, yes? Am I allowed to have an a value inside that parentheses? There we go. Sorry, right there. I'm not allowed to have an a value inside that parentheses. So that a value has to go outside the parentheses. Now, think about this. If I'm putting that a value outside the parentheses, it's going to be multiplied by everything in the parentheses. So 2x squared, you divide the 2 off, you're going to have x squared. Guess what I also have to do with 12x? Divide it by 2. Okay, so 12x is going to go in the parentheses, but there's a times 2 out front, so 12x divided by 2 is 6x. I'm going to leave my gap. I'm going to end my parentheses. My plus 9 got kicked out back. And it doesn't change, though, because is it in the parentheses being multiplied by 2? No. So you just factor that 2 out of your x squared and x term. Okay. Are we okay with that, step 1? That's the twist when there's an a value. Okay, step 2. Let's talk about B. What is my current B? Current B is what we are having or working with, which is 6. So then, you know, we're going to do B divided by 2 quantity squared. So that means I'm doing 6 divided by 2 squared. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. Okay. Now, because we had a value and a catch on part 1, there's a catch on step 2 also. Okay? So, complete the square. We did that with b over 2 squared. We're going to add it inside. So what am I doing here? I'm adding 9 in that gap. And then we're going to subtract it outside. Notice what it says. If an a value exists, multiply outside amount by a. So we're going to subtract 9 outside. But was there an a value? Yeah. So we're going to multiply this by 2. Okay. So here's the deal. It's all about keeping it balanced. I added 9 in the parentheses. is this 9 just a 9 when I put it in the parentheses? This 9 that I put in the parentheses is being multiplied by 2. So because this 9 is being multiplied by this 2, over here I can't just subtract 9. I have to subtract 9 times 2. Okay, so that's the catch when there's an a value. Okay, that's step 2. Step 3 is just factor again. How are we getting with the factoring? Now, the 2 is going to what? It's going to be out front. And we're looking for parentheses squared. If you need to, if you're saying, yeah, I still need the visual, that's fine. You need that visual, own it, use it. And maybe I'm being overkill. Maybe no one needs a visual. I don't know. I always guess that people do. X squared is x times x. The square root of 9 is 3. And 3 and 3 adds to be 6. What kind of signs? Pluses. So this is x plus 3, quantity squared, with the 2 out front. And clean up your outsides. Plus 9 minus 9 times 2. PIMDAS, Aunt Sally, talk to him. This becomes 9 minus 18, and 9 minus 18 is negative 9. Okay, there's your vertex form. 2 times x plus 3 squared minus 9. That's step 3. That's you're done. The other thing you're asked to state, it's not part of the solving, but the vertex, and is it a max or a min? So vertex, HK, what do we have here? Okay, remember your H value, the value in parentheses, you always use the opposite sign, because this graph would move left 3, and then it would move down 9. So negative 3, negative 9. What are we doing? Max or min? Okay. It's a positive a value of 2, so it's a regular right side up parabola. So my vertex is at the bottom, making it a minimum. Okay. Each of these, we have 3 examples here. They each have a little twist that I'm trying to work through individually. Okay. We had no a value here. I just need to get you through the basics. Here, we had an a value. Okay, so get you through what that means. Here, what am I changing up that's going to make a twist? We have a negative a value. Okay, so let's do it. Step 1, rewrite. Y equals, now, x squared plus bx in the parentheses, which is negative 2x squared plus 20x. What's the catch? I'm going to say what's not allowed in the parentheses. Negative 2 is not allowed in the parentheses, right? So I'm going to put that negative 2 out front. Negative 2x squared, if you factor out the negative 2, is x squared. What about 20x divided by negative 2? Minus 10x. I'm going to leave a gap, and in my parentheses, minus 42 bumps outside. That's step 1. Step 2, complete the square. I'm going to go off the edge of my paper. You guys have room up here, wherever you need. Maybe you don't even write this down. I don't know. What's b? My current b is negative 10. So b over 2, quantity squared. negative 10 divided by 2 quantity squared. What's half of negative 10? Negative 5. What's negative 5 squared? 25. So what am I doing with that 25? We're going to add it inside the parentheses and subtract it outside the parentheses. And because we had an A value, we're going to multiply that minus 25 by negative 2. And sorry, that's all running together over there. Okay. That was step what? 2? Step 3 is technically your final step, just factor. I just think of it, the square root of x squared is x. The square root of 25 is 5. What kind of 5s? Negatives, because they had to be negative 10. I mentioned this yesterday. It's also always this number right here that goes in your parentheses of what we got before we got the square. So let me write out what I have. Y equals negative 2 times x minus 5 squared minus 42, and this becomes plus 50. Minus 42 plus 50 is going to be a plus 8. Okay. And vertex. It's HK, or think about which way the graph's moving. Minus 5 tells the graph to move right 5. Plus 8 tells the graph to move up 8. What's my vertex? 5, 8. The opposite sign of H, and then use the K. And is my vertex a minimum or a maximum? What's different about this problem? My A value is negative, yes. That A value is negative. It says my parabola is reflected upside down. It means my vertex is at the top, and it is a maximum. Okay, guys. We made it. Okay. Tough part here, you've got to keep them separated, right? Okay. With that in mind, you've got directions for both. Rely on them, especially here at the beginning. Okay? Okay. This homework probably has a due date of Monday. Keep in mind, it's not in this 9 weeks. Anything that's due this 9 weeks needs to be a priority today because it's due today. Okay?